So first, the threshold between, like you're mentioning, the threshold between when you're actually, getting rid of intracellular compartments through autophagy, clearing away protein aggregates, pieces of DNA, and things like that, but also in damaged mitochondria, but also the clearing away of complete cells, and particularly damaged cells, which is very interesting to me because, as you mentioned, you've shown this now in there's two different animal models for autoimmune disease. One was multiple sclerosis, and the other was I think type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, ours was that one particularly was not autoimmune. We're doing the autoimmune.
Okay.
It was type 1 induced by pharmacological induced.
Okay. So it has potential for
yeah, but I can tell you we've now confirmed it with other autoimmune diseases. So
yeah.
I think it's going to be applicable to many autoimmune diseases. Yeah.
So this is what's so cool because the potential for this type of fasting to cause cells that are preferentially damaged to be cleared away by apoptosis, which makes sense. I spent 6 years studying apoptosis. I know a lot about it, and cells that are damaged preferentially die. I can tell you from doing multiple
during development, right?
Yeah, during development as well.
That's the way that the good and the bad are
right. It's also how cancer cells are primed to die as well, because cancer cells are damaged. They are mutated and completely damaged, and that may be also why they're very sensitive to stress.
Yeah, and also, something that is a speculation, but we're starting to think more and more, or at least I'm starting to think more and more, is that, I always say if you cut yourself, doesn't matter where you cut yourself, or if you hurt your head, the system repairs it, right? Or repairs almost anything. And so, what about in the inside? Why is it possible that we never develop a way to fix damaged organs and various systems? And so we're starting to think that maybe fasting represents that opportunity to fix the inside, right? And maybe, and just maybe, because everybody had to do it by force. They were forced to do it because there was no food. At some point of your month, almost unavoidably, you probably were with no food. And so, because it was almost unavoidable, it was probably something that, I always also think about sleep, right? And in sleep, you feel so tired that you have to sleep. Because obviously people would have gone to sleep just on their own, right? But in the case of fasting, because it was imposed by the environment, I suspect that maybe we never develop something that forces you to fast. And so now that we eat all the time, we just completely lost this auto-repair mode, right? And this could be remarkable because imagine if we had this ability, if you have damaged liver, that fixes it. If you have damaged immune cells that are autoimmune, that clears it. And so you never develop a defense against autoimmunity because fasting always took care of it. Now all of a sudden, you get rid of fasting, and all these things start building up, whether it's insulin resistance or liver damage, fatty liver, et cetera, right? So this could be really, and people always are surprised when we say, we're publishing on all these different diseases. But if that's true, then it makes sense, right?
Right.
Because, for example, in multiple sclerosis, you see on one side, it kills the immune cells. Then it turns on the stem cells, then turns on the oligodendrocytes, progenitor, and replace. It's like, how the hell does it know how to do all of this? And it does it all in such a sophisticated manner. But if it was an evolved process, that would make a lot of sense.
Right. The thing that's so interesting is how the stem cells, the clearing away of these damaged cells through apoptosis, activating these stem cells, which then have to repopulate whatever organ or tissue we're talking about, how they actually can make normal like cell. You're talking about, in the case at least for autoimmunity, or type 1 diabetes or multiple sclerosis, how they make their immune cells normal. That is so.
Yeah, but that makes sense, right? Because if you turn on a stem cell, you imagine now that you're not going to turn on a damaged stem cell. There's got to be a selection process to pick
True.
So the stem cell is now, of course, going to give rise to normal white blood cells, right? They wouldn't have any way to make an autoimmune cell. So, I mean, yeah. So because that happens, I think, in the differentiated cell, the clonal. So you expand already a differentiated cell. So even, I think, theoretically, that makes perfect sense that once you turn on the stem cell, the hematopoietic stem cell, you will make a healthy. Now you can always turn that healthy cells into an autoimmune cell, but at least initially you will make a healthy one, and that's exactly what we see happening.